What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Sunday Recap Podcast. Episode 42, but more importantly, the first episode of the new year. Welcome back, Pastor Steph.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday.
Lots
and Merry
of things.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And
in that order, reverse order.
yeah, and then throw in Tyler's birthday, too.
And Tyler's birthday is on the 27th.
All the things.
Yes.
And happy pastoral anniversary.
Oh.
Which actually, this is the first time I've even thought about it.
Yeah.
December 31st.
Was your pastor anniversary?
2017 is the day that we became pastors.
That's
so what is
crazy.
that? 8? It's been 8 years now. We just completed the 8th year.
Wow.
So we're starting the 9th year.
Starting the 9th year.
Wow.
And the year of Jubilee is not over. It's never over. We're
never
constantly
over.
living in freedom, but our 50th year has come to a close.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Have we sat and talked about that?
I don't feel like there's just so much.
We just opened up too many cans.
I didn't even thought to all that.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. But, yes, we have such a great year ahead of us. So much vision that I know that God has given you for the year, so much fire that I know that he's put in so many people in our church. You know, going into this new year, a lot of people seem to be ignited and ready. It's that New Year's feeling.
Yeah, got that.
Man, I love New Year's.
I do too.
So much.
Too.
I know I'm sounding like a classic podcast host or radio host, but man, don't you love? But really, truthfully, we talked about this before the podcast. Like, you know, there's people that go, oh, whatever, New Year, who even cares? And there's people that go, oh, New Year's, let's use this as an opportunity. I wish that we would have one of each, but we're not. We're not. We're both
locked
jazzed
in
for New Year's.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Like, there's nothing that I love more than Monday sometimes. You know what I mean? Like a good Monday start to the week, this new diet, this new, you know, system that I'm going to implement, you know, in the New Year's, the ultimate Monday.
Yeah.
You know, and I love it so much.
And I did feel at times like that was just maybe false hype, but in the message Sunday, it was like, actually it's not. That's like what we should be inspired by is seasons of renewal and resets.
Really love that.
That's what Jesus came to do is reset.
And you said you were like, so that feeling that we're jumping right into the message.
We're already there.
Your message title, before you make any plans. I love that. Like you're almost like this, you know, hold up. Because and you were sharing about how the New Year's is like, you know, this thing that we want, we don't have to just shoot it down as like, oh, that's not of God. Like that longing, God's put inside of our hearts.
Yep.
You know, that longing to make your life better than what it is. Yeah. You know? And sometimes our methods is the wrong way. And sometimes our source and foundation of how but I love that you just kind of said a bit of it right there, but like take the hype out of that and replace that with the hope. You know, take that hype and replace it for hope. And I love that phrasing right there.
Well, and the idea of like a clean slate, that's kind of what the New Year does. It's like, hey, clean slate. I get to start fresh on whatever it is this year. I feel like I didn't turn out the way I wanted. Clean slate today. Yeah. And that is the cross is the ultimate clean slate. So it's like, I think it's like woven into the construct of a man to want clean slates and fresh starts. And that's what the scriptures say. His mercies are new every morning. Yeah. And so New Year is always a great time to really remind ourselves of that. And
I think that's a good thing too. I think a lot of times is that's why I love at the end of the year, you get hope, but you can also debrief and look back and recap. There's something I love so much about recaps. You know, Jake made an awesome video on Sunday of our church's recap of our year, you know, but like I love seeing people's recaps of their year. I love when I know YouTube, I haven't watched in a couple of years, but I know YouTube has like a YouTube rewind of all the trends that happened this year. And people do the polls of what was the most famous song this year? What was the most famous word this year? Those always get me excited. I love those because I think that it's fun to look back and see you know, what we've been through this year, what God has brought us through this year, you know, what are the highs, what are the lows, you know, and then like what you were saying, like what can we take that we felt like we didn't answer the call in our lives this year that God's calling us to, that we can go into the next year with that in mind, you know?
Yep. Looking back to remember God's faithfulness, you know, throughout the Old Testament, they were always, everywhere they went, they would set up an altar.
Right.
And they were like, why are you setting this here? They put stones in the middle of the Jordan River. Why? Right. So when people come later, they can remember what God did. So there's like this element of, there's a holiness when it comes to remembering the faithful times. And sometimes the enemy gets us to do the opposite. If we're looking back, we're like Lot's wife and we're looking at Sodom and Gomorrah and everything that we've lost. And God's going like, no, what if we looked behind just to remember the things that God has done and how we've gotten through the season?
Right.
So So yeah, it's a look back, and then it's a look forward. It's such. I think it's a godly season. It's a holy season when we're intentional about what it looks like.
Yeah, I think so too. And I love the phrasing that you feel like God's given you for really, I don't know if it's just the top of the year, but really this year, which is like the best is yet to come.
Yeah.
Maybe you can kind of unpack a little bit. I know there's a little bit of history behind that phrase in this church.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely something that my dad, just growing up, he said that all the time. And actually for my entire life, I just thought that was something internal, kind of like revival's inevitable. It was just one of those things that we rallied. Yeah. And I remember watching a church one day, and they had like an LED like light on the wall, and it said the best is yet to come. And I'm like, how did they know what my dad was saying?
Right.
And then I realized, like, no, that's actually, that phrase has been around.
Yeah.
But yeah, going into this year, it was kind of just, I felt like God was going, let's bring that phrase back into our vocabulary, not just into our vocabulary, but to really into our belief system. Mm-hmm. And I think there's sometimes with that phrase, it's, at least for me, it got to be like, yeah, the best is yet to come. That gives a unrealistic expectation of the seasons of life that maybe sometimes are stormy. Not everything's gonna be perfect, and you gotta be a good disciplined person and settle in. But really, the ultimate best is yet to come truly is, because one day we will be with the Lord and in His presence, like it was from the very start.
Yeah.
But also, let's not be so just like we're going to hang that there as like the ultimate trump card.
Right.
Because actually, the best can be ahead every day when you're walking with the Lord.
Right.
And what we sometimes don't call the best and don't realize is the best, we really don't understand that until we're like actually in it with the Lord.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about Paul.
Yeah.
He was going, this is my best days. I'm in this prison writing letters. And I'm like, that sounds horrible.
Right.
Like his best days weren't ahead. That was getting worse.
Right.
But for him, because he was getting closer to the Lord, it actually was the best.
Right.
So when you're really in sync with the Lord, your best days are ahead.
Yeah.
It just might not be what you think it is.
Yep. And I think that's sometimes the hardest thing for us, especially the Americanized version of Christianity, because we have a pretty good idea of what our life should be. You know, I don't know about, I do know about you because I know you well, but like, we can make some pretty good plans. We can make some pretty good lists. We can set some pretty good vision. I know you opened the message, but like we can do the vision boards and everything. And like you were saying, you don't want to like come against that, because that is biblical as well. Like write the vision, make it plain, but like, and for a lack of vision, people perish. But it is funny to be like, the vision that you have, the things that are on your board, the car, the house, the things like that, they pale in comparison to like the vision God has for you, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but yeah, you were kind of going through at the beginning of the message, like the New Year's mindset and everything like that, and just the different things that we take. So, maybe off the top of our head, we can just come up with some things that we go. So in the New Year's, you go, okay, so this year I'm going to, I want my life to look like this. I'm going to work out. That's got to be a classic one. What are some classic ones? Work out. Let's go in.
Eat better.
Save money.
Less social media.
Yes. And we have this like ideal version of our lives, and those are all good, But yeah, like you were saying on Sunday, like we have this dream of what our life is, but like, have we asked God what His dream is for us this year? What His vision is for us this year? And then I think probably the best verbiage that you used was what His assignment for us this year. Yeah. Like you said, like what not what is my dream, like, or not what is my dream, what is my assignment, But it's funny because your dream you can come up with, but your assignment, somebody gives that to you, that's funny. Even in that verbiage right there, like that, an assignment is normally given to you by your boss or your teacher or your parents, someone in authority over you gives you an assignment. So trading in your dream for an assignment, that is a scary prayer, I would say, in this version of our lives in Christianity.
Yep.
We really want, I've used the cliche, but like the white picket fences and our family to be this piece. And it's not like God doesn't want to partner up with you in like give you desires of your heart, right? But like you said, Paul's in prison and he's like, these are the best days of my life. And you're like, how can you say that? And you're like, well, because when you are chasing after Him, the bar for what you seem as a good life or what you seem as successful changes.
Yeah.
It's complete. It's not like it goes higher. It actually moves to a different plane. Your vision is what you determine as successful is completely different. And can you share what you were kind of sharing about earlier before the podcast? You were talking about like you being a mom and your kids, like what you want for their lives. Like not that you don't care about the journey, but you care about, or not that you don't care about like what it looks like in the moment, but you care about what they get to.
Yeah,
the person
there's
they become.
definitely there's enjoyment for sure in watching the kids be blessed and get what they want. Like watching their dreams come true.
Yeah,
for sure is a blessing for me. But as a parent, maybe the bigger blessing or the biggest desire isn't just that their dreams come true, but it's that they continue to grow as people and who they are, and they're getting stronger and wiser and kinder and all of those things. And that's how the Lord is for us. It's not that our dreams are insignificant to him, but more than our dreams, he wants us to actually grow, because he knows that through growth, that's actually where we'll be strengthened for endurance. And then you've got another layer you can throw on is like, by the way, he's also dreaming as well.
Right.
And he wants us to help with his dream. He's inviting us to be a part of that dream. Yeah. And he's so good at what he does that I think that his dream and our dream, if we really got to the heart of it, they might actually be the same dream and work together.
The significance that we're looking for, God may be fulfilling in his dream. You know what I mean? That scratches that itch that it's like, oh, I didn't want that. I wanted the fruit of that, but God, you just know how to do everything. Yeah, I think that's good. You know what's funny is I was even thinking about like movies sometimes. I only see this on movies. I'm sure this happens in real life, but it's like... I can only think of, you ever seen Jump In? It is the bungee jumping movie. It's like a Disney Channel movie. I don't know if your kids grew up watching it. It was around the High School Musical time. Okay. It was Corbin Blue, the guy with the afro in High School Musical, Zac Efron's best friend. Okay. You're following.
Yeah, following.
Okay, so his dad wanted him to be like a boxer. I'm only using this as a quick example, and he wanted to do jump rope, which is classic Disney movie, like... But it was funny because it was like, Dad, I don't want to do boxing. That's your dream, not mine. You know? But how many times do we see that in movie and TV shows? Like, Dad, I don't want to do that. That's your dream, not mine. Yeah. You know? And so now society is conditioned to be like, don't follow your father's dream, follow your dream. Yeah. And point towards you. But really, when we're talking about our walk with God, it's like, lay your dream down to follow the Father's dream, because it's better. It's better for
than
you.
Your dream.
It's better than yours.
And his dream for sure includes you.
Right.
But your dream might not include him.
Right.
So his dream looks out for both of you.
Yeah, for sure. So I like that parallel just because I think there's a difference between like Corbin Blue's dad in that movie and God, right? Like one dream might be more selfish than the other one, but like, like that mindset of like living your life not for you. Like it's really like, but it's like the new year, new me, right? Yep. It's all about us. It's pointed towards us. Yep. But it's not like if we're doing it right, like it is a new you, but it's not for you, and it's not on your behalf and by your strength, you know? It's because, I mean, what's the thing about New Year's resolutions that everyone does? They fail. They always fail. Why? Because like it's on the back of us. Right. You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm going to go to the gym every day. And we set up this crazy expectation, and then we don't do it, and then we get depressed and we get sad, and then it's Christmas, so I'm not going to eat the food. It's holiday season. I got to eat it all. And then you feel terrible, and you go into the new year, and the cycle repeats. Yep. You know? But like, that's us. You know what I mean? And so, going into your message, like, I feel like there's a lot of good ways to be able to keep us out of it and keep God in mind, and just seeing like how we even, because I even think you on Sunday, like have we even like talked to him about this? Right. We made this whole list. Have we consulted God about that? Maybe share on that a little bit about like, spending time with him. We kind of talked about daily office, maybe unpacking that. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I think we just jump in, and I feel like, especially for our church community here, I think everybody's desire really is to please God. I think when you say, people are like, yeah, it really resonates with me. And maybe they're in a moment of going like, I don't always do that, but that is my heart's posture. And I think for a lot of us that have been serving the Lord, that is our heart's posture, but we're just so conditioned to like do it on our own. So we don't really come to the table. I mean, even today, before we started this podcast, you're like, let's do a new tradition. Let's pray before we start. Yeah. And I'm like,
The fact that we've had this podcast, we've never once been like, episodes. God, we want to invite you into the podcast and direct our conversation.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
but we
crazy.
wanted to bless it and we want it to work.
Right.
But we just are, so it's not out of rebellion or anything like that. It's just out of just sometimes like, we got to pay more attention. We're really not including the Lord like we think we've done. And I'm one of those people, like I'm so quick to jump into my new year, my new season, or even my week, even my mornings, and already come in predefined on what I'm going to do.
Yep.
And really learning, part of walking with the Lord is learning to be present in His presence. And what's His presence doing? Can I get on board with what He's already doing? Because He's always in motion. He's always on something.
Yeah.
And so having an opportunity to align myself with the divine moment or divine assignment has so much more power and significance than doing what the rest of the world's doing.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what I got to do to be great and fighting everybody to the top of that tower.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely an intentionality, I think, on our part to be able to even figure out what God wants to do. But I think it's maybe an intentionality to even go like recognize He's even available to meet with.
Yeah.
And you and I we're talking about just in the relationship that James and I have been able to have with you, and it's from the time you were little, you just kept coming around,
right?
And because of that, you'd come in all the time, and so you were always just getting to be a part of our thoughts, our conversations. Maybe we're not even talking to you; we're talking to each other, and there you are, you're listening. And I think sometimes that's what we need to be more intentional about with the Lord, of coming to Him like a curious child and constantly just putting ourselves in His area, not always going, God, come, I'm worshiping now, Lord, show up here for my worship. It's Sunday morning.
Right. I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
And we set these meeting times, and we set them on our schedule too.
Yeah.
We pick the meeting time, and then we tell them to come to our meeting. And instead going like, no, what if we just constantly made our life habit to pop into His office and say, what are you doing? And so that's daily office. And a few years back, I was reading a book, and it was talking about some of the culture for monks, and that they, throughout the day, they have this thing called daily office. And it's time that is intentionally set aside to meet with the Lord throughout the day. Yeah. Usually, like, I don't know if it was around like breakfast, lunch, dinner, like a morning, a midday. And but it's times you set aside. And I began to think about, man, well, Lord, what if I started being more intentional, not just about, okay, I'm going to open my day with my morning time. The meeting time is in the morning. But throughout the day, set aside times to go, I'm going to be intentional, not to just invite Him into my office, but to go into His office throughout the day and go, just what's up? You know, we always think like we need to approach God when we have it on purpose. We need something, or we want Him to like bless us or encounter us or something. Yeah. But just learning just to check in with the Lord throughout. And I think in that, number one, we become mindful of His existence and presence and our access to Him. But secondly, I think that's how we learn what His heart is. Yeah. Because we're coming in all the time and we're just being present in the conversations and in the rhythms that God is already establishing.
You know what's crazy is that you've talked about daily office probably from when you first read that book, you shared it. And I know I was probably amongst some of the people that you shared it with.
We were like a school staff Devo mornings.
Yes. And from that day on, I put in my phone reminders. I don't think I've ever told anybody this. I put in my phone reminders at 6 a.m., 9 a.m., noon, 3 p.m., 6 p.m., 9 p.m., midnight. Right. I have a reminder every 3 hours, and it says check in. And it's with check in with God. Yeah. And I have those reminders on my phone. And I will come clean here. I have literally so many times, more often than not, like not done it for its purpose. But like now those are clear markers. Like I have an Apple Watch, so my wrist will go and I'll be like, and knowing where I am in the day, I'll be like, okay, just turn 3 o'clock or just turn whatever. But like, it's funny because that's like in me now. It's in me to know my internal clock is there because it'll be like sometime in the morning I go, I'll be like, oh, okay, it's 9 a.m. I've been at work for an hour. But like switching that into being like, I have this on my wrist and then I know like, all right, check in with the Lord right now. Make sure that you're still keeping him a part of what you do. It's funny, you shared that with me, and I was so inspired by that. And then, you
set the framework up. But we do, I
did the New Year's resolution
We do
thing.
it for water, right?
Yeah.
Like some people put the water timer, and like everyone happens, just drink water.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to drink the whole gallon. It means you drink a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we approach God like this formal process. Like, okay, I'm going to spend time with God. It's got to involve a long period of time. It's got to involve, I have to read the word. And so if I don't have time to do this whole gamut, then I'm like, well, then it's not good enough. And I actually think the amount of times that we interact with him, it's actually maybe more impactful, lots of little moments throughout than one big moment once a week.
Yeah.
And going back to just you as an example, there's the employees here that I put this meeting once a month on the calendar with. We might be in that meeting for 2 hours.
Yeah.
But and we might make some progress there. But my relationship with the people like you that I'm just every day, you just keep coming to my office, seems to be richer because it's just those moments, and we make it so formal, and it's not. It's going just like, God, how's your day going?
Yeah,
it's going like I've done that a lot with gratitude, and I use my office sometimes just to be like, Lord, look at this bug. This is crazy. Like when you made this bug, I wish I knew what you were thinking about. And then it takes me into like, was it fun to make bugs? Like all the different species. And then you all of a sudden, it doesn't have to be this serious moment. It's just getting in that repetition of what's he doing?
Well, I love that you use the analogy of the chat window. You know, you always say, like, it's like I just have this chat window open. So if you're ever working on a computer or something, you can have multiple tabs open, and you can have a chat window open right here. Then, like, whatever, you're typing or whatever, it's like, oh, I got a message real quick. Let me go type that. Okay, go back to what I'm doing. I got another one. It's like the Holy Spirit's sitting right there waiting for you to, like, tap in and go to this chat window. I mean, even we all use ChatGPT now. You know what I'm saying? You might be like Pastor Stephan be speaking into it all the time, like it's your best friend. But just kidding, everyone does that. But it's funny, like we can do that, but we sometimes forget that God is the same availability that ChatGPT on our phone is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's funny nowadays, and I sound like my parents, but it's like, it's hard for you to not know something now. Like, you got to go out of your way to not look it up, to not research it, because it's so easy.
Yeah.
To Google everything, to know all the answers. Tyler this morning was talking about, I think he said Cliff Connectley, because he went to Passion. He was like, he's like 80 years old. Literally within 2 seconds, I look it up, like Cliff Connectley age. He's 70. He's 71.
I was saying, 69.
Right,
yeah.
right. And so it was like, it's funny, but like, I just needed a second to be able to look up a fact like that, to fact check somebody or to do whatever. But like, God is waiting on us like that, And I think that he's just waiting on us to do the same thing that you're saying, just like tap into and like you said, like there is a holy reverence that we have for the Lord, and there's intense moments, and there's moments that'll shake you to your core, and you'll have those in your life. But if you treat every moment like it has to be like that, then you're missing out on a lot of quick things God wants to tell you, like you're saying. And I even think another thing in between last podcast and now was Miss Lydia's retirement. You spoke when you sat down and interviewed her, you said this thing. You were like, I don't think sometimes we think of serving God and honoring God with our life as these big moments, but it might be all these little moments along the way. Like you were, because she was telling her story about like I didn't know that I was. I did all this and made this big, but like she spent in little moments. And I think it's the same thing with our talk with God, not just our relationship, but our actual talking and communicating with him. Like, can we keep him in throughout the day at all times, though that's what's important. It's the same thing. New Year's replaces to whatever New Year's resolution that you want to do. Let's just say you want to learn an instrument, right? If you do 1 2-hour lesson once a month, like you'll be better by the end of the year. But what if you played for 5 minutes a day?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you would have a better grasp of that. Working out, same thing. What if you worked out for 20 minutes a day instead of doing like one like crazy marathon once a month? Like replace whatever you want in there. You eat one healthy meal a month, but like you don't treat that anywhere else in your life. Like if you take this and apply it to whatever your New Year's resolution is, and like it's going to be the same thing, but like keeping God in mind. I think that's kind of the biggest thing, you know, like what you're saying.
And this message really wasn't about this topic per se. It was actually about letting God author your story.
Yeah.
And you know, I always, after I leave Sunday, I sit there and just kind of like, did I get the whole picture to people, and did they know what they could do to make this better? And you know, I was thinking about just that the God being our author. I kind of built a case Sunday for all the reasons why he's the best author. And I think even as we're building it, he'll finish the good work he started, and he has great plans for us. Like I think we could all go like, he's got better plans, and of course they're going to be good, and of course it's the best way. So then again, then why aren't we asking him? But I think it goes back to availability. I don't think that we recognize the access, and because it's not in front of us enough, we just jump into things. And when we look at the year as a whole, I would want to know what God wants me to work on this year. You know, I have big plans, like I've shared with you. I'm going to learn Italian this year.
Let's go.
We were doing French, but we've moved.
We've switched.
And it's not to say that things like that aren't fun, but like, well, how much time am I spending on that? And what am I going to be doing with that? And God might actually care. He might actually go, I don't want you to do that this year. That time that you would spend doing this every day, I actually want you to spend doing this. I don't want you to learn Italian. I actually want you to learn another language, because I'm actually going to call you to that nation to speak at some point. You know, and I'm not even asking God at first what that looks like. And so I think we're missing out on better plans. And they don't have to just be on this context of my annual plan or my annual assignment. I think that there is an assignment of the week. There's an assignment of the day. There's an assignment of the hour. There's an assignment of the moment. That's how involved he wants to be in our life.
There's an assignment of your thoughts, you know, like what you're thinking at that time.
Yeah. And so it's like the more we bring him in, it only brings more clarity to what we're doing. I said, and you don't always have to bring him in. Like, well, I asked God, he didn't answer me. Well, then talk about something else. Just bring the relationship into the significance, and then God begins to be worked in. So to get back to the message, it really was about God really authoring our story, and we really kind of jump into New Year, especially throughout the year, actually, but in the New Year especially, we begin to make all these plans, and they're based on our dreams. So under our dreams, we begin to create our vision, and from our vision, we begin to set our goals. And after we set our goals, we begin to make plans on how to implement those goals. And that's the order we go through. And if you really look at it like, well, he has a dream that also has a vision, that also has goals, assignments, that also has a plan to get there, and a path he wants to take us down. And I think we're maybe wrong on all accounts sometimes. We're not even from step one of like, what's the dream in mind? And I think that's definitely something that God has, is still working in, but has really done maybe the most work in me, because Stephanie 10 years ago had so many personal dreams and objectives of her own. And as I began serving the Lord, I feel like he began taking those dreams, and some of those dreams he replaced with his, and or maybe a dream that was inside of me that I didn't even realize. Some of those dreams, I feel like he said to me, like, almost like, can we worry about that later? You know, that's not the assignment right now. And that actually might be a distraction. So can you stay really present? And I think that's a hard concept to grasp if your number one motive isn't the Lord. But mine for years really wasn't. My motive was me. And if I brought the Lord in, it was to help me with my motive. And, but knowing the Lord, and truthfully, I think a big part of that's come from me just having spiritual demand on my life. As I've been in a place that's required me to grow in the Lord, I've had to kind of change my objectives, because now it used to be like, I don't really need to know the Lord. I just need him to bless my ambitions. Now it's like, no, I literally can't do my job without him. And it's actually put me to such a deeper place of consecration. And in that, he's changed my dreams. And there's dreams that I had that I was dead serious about that I'm like, I could actually care less. And then there's dreams that I still would love to come to pass. But if they don't, that's all right. He'll make up for it later. You know, it just changes your intentionality. And it's something my mom always like laughs about and remarks on, because she's like, man, the old version of you, it's like, you're not even the same. You don't even you're not pursuing the same things. You don't have the same objectives in life. Yeah.
I love you speaking on God being the author of the story, you know, like, I think that's fun. And I love the idea that, okay, like, I love movies, right? And so God writes the script, right? And if God is the is the author, then we are the actors in this thing.
Yeah.
And we are supposed to stick by the script.
Yeah.
If actors get paid to read the script and to do it and to do it well,
Yep.
you know? And when you have a good writer, you don't even got to be that good of an actor. You just got to read the script.
You just got to read the script.
You know? And I love that. I love that because, you think of great actors, right? And these great actors, they'll make bad writing turn to this. We ain't got to worry about that. We have the greatest author of all time, and we got to just act our way through this thing. Sometimes we'll be able to read the script and to really live it out and have some passion behind our words and what we're doing. And sometimes we're just looking at the book like this and just reading whatever's on the page because that's all we can do. But as long as we're sticking to the script, right, like this is going to be, we're going to benefit from that.
Yeah, and I like that parallel because I feel like even the actors, that's all you do is you stick to the script. However, as actors mature and get more experience. And they actually understand the objective well. Yeah. The good actors actually improv and they go off script.
Yep.
And it's like, well, you're saying they need to be on script. Well, sure, they probably need to be on script as they were learning how to act and they were going through this thing. But as they developed, they actually were able to go off script and not get outside of the goal.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's like take the first bite of what God wants from us. Like he just wants me to do what he says, don't think, be responsible. And that's actually not his intention. His intention actually is to
partner with you.
And to really co-labor with us and be a part. One of my favorite books is called Dreaming with God. And he wants to dream with us. He didn't make us mindless. He actually built us with a mind, with the ability to create just like him. Because he wants us to also go, oh gosh, God, you've been wanting to do this thing and here's a solution I think could help. But until we really make sure our motivation is in alignment with his motivation, we can't really even design what a good script would look like because the motivation's not right there.
And I can stick on movie analogies forever.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, and if James is here, he'd do the same thing. And I know Jake came behind the camera, but I love it because you look into the movie world, right? Hollywood, whatever it is, and you see these camps, and they're camps of people that make movies together and do productions together. And you have these great directors, and they find somebody that gets them and knows them, right? I'll give one that probably a lot of people know and have heard the name of, like Martin Scorsese, right? A lot of people know that name of that director. Well, he's found people who have really got his vision, and he's made movies with a lot of the same people forever. You see a lot of these great directors and writer directors and great directors too, that find an actor that really, really they just get it. They understand it. And so I'm going to make 20 movies, but they might be in 15 of them because they really understand what I'm doing.
They get it. There's that phrase right now, I understood the assignment.
Yes.
Do you understand the assignment?
They understood the assignment.
They understood the assignment, and that's what God is looking for, people that understand the assignment. And if you do, even if you're off script, it's okay because you understand the assignment and you're both going in the same direction.
Yep.
And that's when actually working for God gets fun. Yeah. Not when I'm just like a drone.
Yeah. And and you talk to these, the earthly version of this is making movies. People are like, how's this a job?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I get paid to be with my friends and make movies. God wants that for us. We just get to be able to live life and do things for the kingdom together with our friends.
Yeah. But we just might have to spend a season of understanding his rhythms.
Right.
And a season of making sure our motives are right.
You have to understand, like you said, you have to understand the assignment to be able to improv, right?
Yeah.
You have to understand the script if you're going to be able to improv. Like you were saying, if you're improving, you really know the source text, and so you're not off when you're doing things like that, So I love that author analogy. It's just amazing. Yeah. And I know that you did it because you're books, but I do it as someone who writes movies because I love movies.
Yeah. But it's a good parallel for sure.
Yeah. And I love that. And I love, this message being able to push us in the direction of, before you make any plans.
Yeah, wait just a minute. Before you make any plans.
Wait just 1 minute.
What's God really planning? And we used kind of the story of Jacob at the end.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying maybe a little too much that moment we were in. I think we went a little bit over on Sunday.
Keep it going.
But the you could feel in the room even the wrestle that we were having, realizing how much we've sometimes wrestled with God, and how just like Jacob, we have sometimes done it without God. Sometimes we've done it partially with God, just grabbing his promises, but not actually his methods.
Yeah.
And then maybe getting in a season where we finally wrestle with God. And I have been on all legs of that journey. I shared a little bit of when I, even as a kid, I had actually had a moment with the Lord at 6 years old where he really marked my life. And we see that in Joseph's story. We even see that somewhat in Jacob's story, just because there was this covenant from God being passed down kind of through their family lineage. But you know that God's got big things.
Yeah.
But maybe you go through a season of not really even trying to go through him to get big things, because you kind of want to see what your big things are on your own.
Right.
And what you got before you bring in him.
Right.
Because you got to share some credit. Like, what do I got? You know, and maybe it's not for bad intentions, but I think, you know, it's fair to say that everybody has gone through a season of maybe doing life maybe without God, or maybe you've always had knowledge of him, but you've not really included him.
Right.
And so for me, I went through most of my life that way, much like Jacob. I had my goals, my dreams, and I really didn't care the inheritance that God had for me. I cared about the parts of it I wanted, you know, and I lived that way for so long.
You were picking promises.
Yeah. And then I feel much like Jacob. I went through a season where all right, this isn't working. In fact, me going after my own inheritance, after my own dream, I feel frustrated. And Jacob ended up running because he was maybe getting killed by his brother. For me, that wasn't really where I wasn't running from anything that was going to kill me, other than this just not being fulfilling. And so then I had this moment of just having this radical moment with the goodness of God, and God really kind of showing me how good he was. And that really kind of brought me into like, wow, then if he's this good, I want to partner with him. And that's kind of what Jacob did. He was running from Esau. He'd done it on his own, and now he's running from him. And then he ends up encountering God at Bethel, and God begins to show him the heavens and the glory. And it was like God began to show him everything he had for him. And then Jacob was like, perfect. See, God does want to bless me. And it was like he took the vision that God gave him. And instead of going, if that's the vision you have for me, how do I get there?
Right.
He was like, oh, I got the vision.
I'll fill in
now.
the blank,
And then he went and he ended up serving all this time and ended up losing years from his life because he didn't actually ask for the strategy. He just wanted the vision. And I think sometimes we do that. We want these marking moments with God. We're always praying, God, give me vision for my life, because if he gives us vision, it does two things. It gives us like direct insight into something better than we could even thought. And then secondly, if God gives me vision, it's like this significance of like God marked me and God saw me, you know, and I don't know if maybe necessarily, at least in our community here, that's maybe necessarily the older generation's response, but I definitely see that a lot in Gen X. It's so like focused on me and how significant I am, which again is godly, but it begins to kind of be like, oh, God had this vision for my life and me and God are doing all these things. But it's kind of like, no, you're still in control and you're just asking him to bless you, and you're using every time you encounter him, you use it as leverage to prove he's on your side.
Right.
But where's your leverage to show us you're on his?
Right. That's good.
And so we kind of stay in that space. So that's what Jacob does. He stays in that space, and then he ends up, after all of that doesn't work out, he ends up encountering this man who was an angel that the Bible kind of gives this godly metaphor for. This was God he's wrestling with, and they end up in this wrestle, and he's going back to his past. He's going again, like where he was, which is where God called him to be. He was supposed to be carrying that blessing, so he left there. So now he's going back to go deal with that blessing. But he's like, if God doesn't bless me, Esau's going to kill me. This is going to be it for me. So they have this other wrestling moment, and in that moment, finally, Jacob finally submits, and that's when God can actually give him the blessing that he would need to fulfill the purpose that God was calling him to.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said, you know, Jacob wouldn't let go until God blessed him, but God wasn't going to bless him until he let go. I mean, that's so
and that's
good.
the truth. God wants to bless us, but he can't bless you in your terms, because it won't actually bless you, it'll curse you. But if you can come over and really submit to God, who knows what he's going to do? But it's obeying God and submitting to God is not the means to an end.
Yeah.
Like, no, he is actually the blessing.
Yeah.
But he's such a blessing in our lives that we can't help but other things come into place.
Yeah.
And I didn't get probably as off the rails as Jacob from, the time I really encountered God, that second big encounter where I experienced him and the goodness he entailed. I actually ended up surrendering as much as I could and knew I was almost immediately. That happened literally on a Monday. By Wednesday, I was preaching. And by the next week, I was like, I laughed and said my anniversary was December 31st, 2017. The first time I ever spoke a message in my life was October the 11th.
Yeah.
So, it really was a quick, but I was living for God.
Yeah.
I was doing things for God, but I was still carrying so much of the burden.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because my heart wasn't wanting. It was like I just wasn't even going like, that's an option.
Yeah.
And I was trying to like prove my worth to God. And he says, I don't need you to prove that. I'm the prover.
Yeah.
I'm proving my worth to you.
Yeah.
I just need you to surrender. And so it was really, I went through a season of around COVID time. The life was just crazy. I mean, the world was crazy. Personally, life was crazy for me. My dad was pretty sick in that season. We're responsible for this church. And we'd only been pastors for a minute, really, what it felt like. And the camp, we had to call camp soon. We had school. There was a lot going on here on the campus that we were feeling the weight of the responsibility for. Plus, the cultural narratives we're fighting over mask and church orders and what's honoring God, obeying authorities or rebelling against authorities.
Right.
There's so much narrative in there. And like my dad was really, really sick in the process. And then I actually ended up getting sick in that season as well. I don't know if it was COVID or if I was just falling apart. But the stress really took a toll on me physically. And it was such a tough season. And in it, I didn't enjoy that season, but I think it was a season that it was like I was finally breaking.
You were at the end of yourself.
I was at the end of myself, which I thought I was.
Right.
But I really wasn't. I was still trying to
There was still some you left
I was still doing parts that I wasn't called to do.
Yeah.
And I'm such an achiever. I'm so driven.
Yeah.
And it always felt irresponsible of me for me not to be so driven and have a plan. Scriptures, without vision, people perish.
Yeah.
And make the vision plain. You got to write the vision. And I would just ruminate on those scriptures and felt like I had this responsibility to bring this vision. And God really took me through this journey of allowing me. He didn't break me, but he allowed me like, okay, are you done, Jacob? You done wrestling?
Yeah.
And because instead I want to set this up differently. And the vision wasn't about my to-do list or this great thing that I needed to put into motion. The vision was just a vision of him.
Yeah, that's good.
And through a vision of him, I would actually have vision for everything I needed. And so it was such a learning season for me. And if it wasn't for maybe going through that season, I don't think I could do the season I'm doing now, because it would have eventually destroyed me, taking on all that responsibility. Right. And we do that in our lives. We do it with our families and our kids. And can we get to that surrender? And that's where Jacob got in that moment. He's wrestling with God, and they finally make this deal. Okay, I'll bless you and I'll surrender, and here we go. And that's when God actually gives him the new name, and the name actually was Israel, because that name was actually the purpose. But until Jacob went through this moment of surrendering his own identity and making it about the identity that God had for him, he was not actually able to even begin executing the purpose that he had. Yeah. And so I'm kind of leaning into there probably this week coming up, but when you're looking towards it, it feels scary, and it feels there's so many what ifs. What if God doesn't come through? What if God doesn't? What if things don't get better? Things don't get easier? And I feel like I'm on the other side. Sometimes I might dabble back into it from old habits, but it's going like, it's just, I don't know. It's just better. Yeah. Is my life easier? I wouldn't say that. Is it less complicated? Probably not. Yeah. But is my life more at peace? And I think that's the ingredient that I think we're missing from a society as a whole. It's we don't feel that peace because we feel the pressure, because we are actually carrying things we shouldn't carry. I mean, even our ability to connect online and through the world, even seeing everything that we're seeing, the pressures that we're carrying, we weren't meant to be in this position. We were meant to actually be in the present moment. And we've taken so many ideologies from the world around us, like you need a vision, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, la la la. And really, when Jesus was like, don't worry about tomorrow. Yeah. He didn't even bring up the 5-year plan. Yeah. He's like, don't worry about tomorrow. Yeah. Just be with me for today. And if you can learn to really be in tune to my voice, I'll guide you every step of the way. Yeah. And every step will be prosperous in the path of God.
This is funny. I was going to say it earlier. I don't know why I saved it until now, but I was texting my uncle Big Dog. he's done some. He runs a security company, so he's done some security for the premises. But I was texting him on Christmas, like, "Hey, Merry Christmas!" And you know my Christmas plan that I had. I had houses to hit. You know what I'm saying? I had like all these different things. And so I was just checking into him and seeing what he was doing. And I was like, "Hey, Merry Christmas! What are you doing? And what's your plan for today?" And he's like, "Man, I'm eating breakfast at a friend's house, but then I'm just letting the day come to me." And I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "That's awesome." And he's like, "Yeah, those are the best type of days." And he just dropped some real knowledge on me right there. Like, yes, for real. Like letting the day come to you. And I think that in our lives, what does that mean? You know, because you could really just make that. You can turn that into like, I don't need to be responsible for anything. You know,
right.
but like, what in our lives? What does that mean? That means like you need to be in peace in trusting God that you can even be in the position to let that day come to you. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to be able to cast your burdens upon him and take on his, which are light and easy, so that you can let his plan come to you, you know, and this year, you know, like let's let God's plan for this year. Let's let God's dream. Let's let God's vision, his assignment. Let that be what structures our year, you know, not what we can cram into this time to make our significance feel good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So anyways, great message. I'm glad you went over. Go over every time. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's go 15 over every time.
Every time, man.
But yeah, it was awesome.
I skipped like a page and a half of notes. In fairness.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well.
We get a lot of content.
We'll
First
back.
of the year, God gave you a download for the whole year, and you're trying to get one message out in 45 minutes.
But the crazy thing is that's actually was never the message I was intending to speak on. I really want to talk about assignments specifically.
Yeah.
An assignment for right now. And so I will hit it later.
Your passion will let you. You had to.
But that recognizing God's not our author, I think is a critical piece.
Yeah.
And then figuring out how we can actually consult him as our author is important.
Yeah. So let's be I got to bring back to movies. Let's be actors that are willing to partner with the author and get the assignment and know it and go into this year, and let's be God's.
I think God's the director and like the Holy Spirit would be the producer.
Yep.
And
then
what would Jesus be? I don't know enough about movies.
But I like the script being the word, right? Like the script is the word.
Script's the word.
I like that. The Holy Spirit could be the producer, and then I don't know. Jesus is executive producer.
He's the financer. He's like the one paying for it all.
That's
like,
that's good. That's good. He's the studio.
Yeah, he's the studio.
Like that.
He's got it all set up for us to be able to even pull this thing off.
Yes, let's move into that camp into 2026. Let's go.
But we're just the actors, and in true Hollywood form, I mean, we're just like the actors in Hollywood. They become the most significant piece.
Yes.
Not all the other things.
And now it's all the marketing for everything. It's what we want to push to the front.
It's just about the actor. Yeah. It's like, no, that's actually the easiest part. The rest of that being covered is
that's good.
Difficult thing.
We can go more into that.
We're cooking.
Let's go.
Look,
we did it. Best is yet to come.
Best is yet to come.
2026. We're excited. Let this be a great year. Let this be your year that you just really lean into what God has for you.
Yeah.
And we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
If you want to check out full messages, you can find us at LS Church on all podcast platforms. And you can watch full services with worship at LS Church Alvin on YouTube.